This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today I'm with my good friend Jeremy Saffron, and we have a special story to tell you today about this tree that we're looking at. Most people unfortunately never get to see this tree, although this is all the rage according to some people in raw foods. And what we're looking at right here is a cacao pod on the tree. And many people don't know this, but Jeremy actually was the one who introduced cacao into the whole raw foods market. Let's first harvest one of these cacaos, man.
I love this.
And check it out. So you can see the cacaos lower on the tree, they're still green. These ones are really small, and then now this is a ripe one. Nice, really good, rich color. So here's the cacao we just harvested. So Jeremy, tell us about the cacao and when you learned about it and when you started to introduce it into the raw foods community.
Well, I had seen them here in Hawaii, and people had them growing here all over the place, and nobody ate them, nobody knew what to do with it. And then someone had showed me about the fruit, eating the fruit off of it, and then I started getting interested more and more, saying, hey, people really want this, people are really excited about this, it's a really up and coming thing that people were like talking about. Oh, the one thing that they still ate, they were all raw, but they still ate chocolate. And I said, oh, well, why can't we do chocolate raw? I mean, everything else is easily done raw, why can't we do this? And so I started, finding the beans a little bit here, and then I was looking for a better source, a way to share them with people. And I had gone to the Natural Food Expo, and people were there, and they would have like their displays of like beans.
Right.
And I'd be
I
like,
remember that, man.
Give me the beans.
I saw you at that expo, actually.
Right. I was like, I don't want the chocolate that you made into something. I just want the raw bean. And I started getting into it and started turning people onto it, and even other raw foodists had come here to the islands, and they had heard about this, and so we started harvesting hundreds of these pods and sharing them with people. And the thing that's beneficial about it is what they call theobromine, which is the plant itself is Theobroma cacao. And the membrane that coats around each of the seeds is a concentrated form of theobromine. And so many people, think about the seed, that the seed has a lot of theobroma to it, but it barely has any at all. In fact, any that there is just the remnant mostly of what's left from what was the fruit that was coated to the outside of it. And I say to most people, I was like, why would you want to eat the apple seeds when you could eat the apple? Why would you eat the cherimoya seeds when you could eat the cherimoya? It's the same thing. If people can get their hands on the real cacao, they usually don't really have the need for the seed. A lot of people look to it because of the hormonal benefits. There's a huge amount of benefit from the theobroma to balancing and regulating the hormones, especially for women, and that's why they often seek it out during and around their moon time. But when you eat the fruit, you get what you really are looking for. When you're trying to get out of the seed, you're actually able to get right out of the fruit itself. It's a delicious fruit. It's very sweet. It's kind of like got a little bit of juice to it, and it's you suck it right off of the seed and then spit out the seed. But those people that like to use the seed, they can be eaten straight when they're in their purple form, but we'll actually ferment them under banana leaves and then dry them, and that's how they turn into the cacao that people grind up and use for their in their diet and stuff. Mostly entertainment food is what it's looked at.
Entertainment food.
Yeah,
so why do you call it an
food.
entertainment food, Jeremy?
Well, because it doesn't really have any major health benefits. I mean, minor health benefits, just like alcohol has minor health benefits, but anyone that's like drinking an extreme amount of alcohol is more likely to be hurting their liver, but having a great time doing it. But they're probably harming their body more than they're doing good for their body. And the same thing is often true about the cacao, that it's doing a lot of damage to the body, but at the same time, it's very fun. It's a great party food. It gets people very excited. It's got a lot of endorphin rushes to it. People really enjoy it for the exhilarating effects of it. Stimulant similar to coffee. People that do coffee, doing cacao is kind of an upgrade for them. But people that live a really pure raw lifestyle, they might not like the cacao because it does have that stimulating effect, and it is highly addictive. People are these days even beginning to look to other things, a close relative of it called kapuasu, which is a type of cacao that doesn't have those problems, another member of the Theobroma family. But these are great, they're really fun and great to get into, and the fruit, of course, has no negative side effect, unlike the bean, which does have some effect on the liver and the kidneys and the adrenals in the long run. But in the short run, it's a great thing to get into. So let's maybe open up.
Yeah,
this
let's
pod.
open it up. So now Jeremy is opening the cacao with a machete, and they're really hard. And there you go. Inside, this is the fruit, the non-edible part. This thing is really rock hard, like I think a winter squash hard right here, man. You could barely break that apart.
And this is the part that we're going to be sucking off of right here.
Oh, and look, this one's sprouting.
Mm-hmm.
So sprouted cacao. So basically, we're just sucking off the white, like pithy type part on there for the nutrients, right? And that has no negative effects.
No negative effects,
but
right.
just positive effects.
It's just fruit and water and a little bit of theobroma and a little bit of minerals and nutrients. But yeah, very
see.
low level kind of a thing. As you can see, there's not a lot of it anyway.
Right. Yeah. There's not a lot. It's mostly all seeds. So Jeremy, I know that you found out and educated the raw food community about cacao, but now you rarely eat cacao yourself, right? Is that
Rarely,
true?
yeah.
Now,
very true.
why is that, and what did you find?
I found, that it was a really big mood swing creator, that it created a lot of mood swings for people, and that if they didn't consume it every single day, that they basically would go into these wild rides, myself included, from it, where it caused a lot of emotional upheaval. People were getting angry and kind of like getting very testy very easily from it. It seemed to be very similar to anyone that was going through a withdrawal symptom from caffeine. People that were used to drinking soda every day, drinking coffee every day, or eating chocolate every day. All of a sudden, when we took it away from them, those people got very aggro and very angry, and then as soon as you gave it to them, they became completely complacent and happy again. And I began to say, wow, this has really got a dark side effect. And then the people that began to do it long term began to see a lot of negative side effects. It was really affecting their liver in a big way, and really hard on the liver, and people had to do a lot of cleansing. And the people that are used to doing even liver gallbladder flushes, having no problem with it, after a few years of eating the cacao, started to have a lot of challenges doing those flushes, where it would bring a lot of detoxification reaction and bring up a lot of emotional stuff for them. So as people more and more got into wondering, hey, why is this? And people began to experiment, more and more people started to write me saying, listen, I've had this exact experience too with the cacao, where I eat it and people get into these emotional swings, and people get addicted to it, where they eat it every day just to feel good. And then as soon as they stop eating it, all of a sudden the world's crashing down around them, and they're angry and yelling, and the slightest little thing sets them off. And I was like, wow, this is pretty extreme. I mean, I understand it's fun in the moment, and that's why, again, I'm not like against cacao in any way, but I wouldn't suggest it as like a health food. I'm saying it's an entertainment food. You get high on it, you have fun, you enjoy your time, and then you have to understand that the next day you might be a little hungover. You might have to make the choice to not indulge yourself in it again and again every single day to perpetuate that, but might be say, oh, okay, that was a fun time last night, and today I maybe should take to myself because I might be a little edgy and don't want to get in any arguments. So that's really mostly what I was finding about it. But then, as I began to do a lot more scientific research with people, I was seeing people that eventually had done it to the extreme, had eaten a lot of it, that they were all of a sudden losing a lot of energy, that their adrenals were really getting
burnt out,
completely burnt out from doing it for too long. So I began to avoid it more and more. I mean, I always found carob a better flavor, and when I really eat the things with cacao from like a clean palate and taste it, things that are made with it, it's not like it tastes any better, but it's that the second bite is better. And I had to say, well, why is the first bite? Because the first bite, anything I really love, when I eat the best mango, it's the first bite that matters. Yeah, it's the first bite in any fruit that you're just like, wow, that just like took me there, and I'll eat the rest of it and enjoy it. But that first bite connected me to it. But cacao was the opposite. I ate cacao and I was like, but then I'd eat a second bite, and then I'd want more, and then more, and then more. And I noticed, wow, you could consume just about as much as you had there. In fact, people eat the entire thing of cacao without ever thinking a thing of it. And that's because of its addictive principle. That's because the body all of a sudden, is got this thing that's like stimulating it. And so people get very caught up about it, and they do it to too much of an extreme. And so I began to say, hey, listen, maybe this is something to be a little more cautious with than, most of our regular foods. I never had that experience from mangoes. And mangoes, interestingly enough, also are one of the few other foods that have the endorphin rush in your brain, just like the cacao creates.
Wow.
So for people that are coming down off of a cacao addiction, mangoes
Eat
are
mangoes.
excellent thing to get into, dried or fresh.
Wow. Eat mangoes, not cacao. So, I would consider, cacao, the nibs or the seeds, a recreational drug.
Exactly.
I mean, and it should be used as such. If you want, if you need to stay up late one night to
get
your homework done,
That's
right. Cacao is probably a better thing than Jote Cola.
That's right, exactly. You're driving on the highway, you got to stay up late, going out to a party. This might be the good choice.
But I think I think in raw foods now it's just being overused. I mean, it's almost in every recipe book, and some people say that you should eat it every day, and it's a superfood. And what do you think, man? Think it's a superfood?
I don't think so at all. No, I mean, in the sense of sure, like as a stimulant, it's super stimulating. But I mean, I don't think that it's a health providing food. As far as most of the other superfoods that we talk about, whether it be spirulina or bee pollen or shilajit or things like that, those are very healing. They have great benefits to people's health. Whereas this doesn't really have much health benefit. There's a lot more detriment to it. But the entertainment value is high. But the health value is kind of low.
I see.
Not to say it doesn't have any. It has some health value, but the detriment outweighs any health value that it has.
Sure. So one of the health values that they often say is it's high in minerals and antioxidants. So what would
Right.
you say about that?
Well, I mean, from my experience of it, it doesn't seem that nutrient dense at all compared to something like spirulina or sea vegetables or wheatgrass that are super, super high in nutrients. This doesn't even come close. And compared to something like blueberries or even strawberries, or goji berries, something that you can eat so many of that you eventually get this like a flushing, like a niacin flush in your cheeks and stuff. And you can tell there's so many antioxidants in it. It's actually, you can feel it working. No matter how many cacao beans you eat, you won't ever get that sensation. You might get like, wow, but you won't ever get like a cleansing reaction or a healing reaction from it. And that's one of the ways that we can tell. And people, promoting this as a health food, feeding it to children and telling people that have illnesses to eat this. And it's actually a known carcinogen, raw or cooked. It's known to cause cancer in animals. And so most of the research that's been done with so many things out there, people say, oh, this was tested on mice or tested on cats or on animals. A lot of things are tested on animals, and that's how they make their claim, oh, it's so healthy. But they can also say, hey, that's a claim as why it's unhealthy. And if we look at dogs and look at cats,
if we fed this, actually, we should probably pick them up off the
dogs
ground.
right
There's dogs right here.
right, exactly. We don't want to leave these around for the dogs to eat.
And what would happen if the dogs ate it?
The dogs usually die.
Yeah.
The dogs get very sick. Most animals, in fact, funny that you say we should pick them up, but the dog won't eat it. The dog knows better. The animals know not to eat this, that this isn't actually food. So one of the few foods that when you're walking through the jungle, you'll see the entire pile of them on the ground.
On the ground. Nobody's eating them.
No one's eating
right.
them. There's one type of rat that's a wood rat that likes the shell.
Oh, yeah.
And he won't eat the seed. But he does eat the shell and sometimes the fruit.
Wow.
But very rarely. And so again, if the animals aren't eating them,
why are we? So what would be a good alternative for somebody that's trying to get off cacao, or for somebody that, there's cacao in a recipe because it's in so many recipes? What should they use instead, in your opinion?
Well, carob is an excellent thing. I mean, carob is pre-sweetened in its own way. It's a leguminous bean, so that's fantastic. And it grows prevalently through most places. It's not just a tropical. It even grows in California.
Absolutely,
very, very well. And it's got a lot of calcium. It's got a fair amount of protein to it. It's got a good nutrient source behind it. So people really like carob, and it has a similar flavor to cacao. And we mentioned a little bit about the Kapua Sioux, which is a relative of the cacao that doesn't have the addictive principles or the stimulating principles to it, but there hasn't been enough research done with that either yet. Just kind of something that's coming out a little bit. Very few people have access to that at this point.
Jeremy, there's also been a controversy about, no cacao is really raw. So what's your take on that? I mean, here, this is raw. We could bite into this and...
Yeah, show them the inside. It's
oh,
purple.
man, check out that. That's like purple, man. Is the cacao you buy in the store, is that purple? And if it's not, then, they got to be doing something to it. What are they doing to it, Jeremy?
Well, most places, they do, in order to use it, you have to ferment it first, and then you have to dry it afterwards. And since they're doing both of those things, they end up getting it to kind of more of a brown color. But that dark black color that people are used to, that rich chocolate color that people are used to, is usually from some form of heat. Most of the processing is done with a winnowing machine that removes the kind of like a peanut. It's got like a skin. After we've eaten the fruit, there's actually a skin layer.
Like the little test
and the skin layer gets removed in the winnowing machine, which often heats up the air. Some people say just to 100 degrees, but a lot of those machines seem to go up to 150 and aren't that regulated. So it's been questionable whether or not the cacao was raw, and a few members of the raw food community, when I had questioned this thing, how are you doing this, they swore up and down about what they were doing was raw, only 2 years later come out of the closet and say, well, that wasn't actually really raw. And the truth is, with all things, that unless you really
do it
yourself, you're not going to know.
I mean, we could take these and dehydrate them at low temperature, then they're truly raw cacao.
That's right. And they'll be purple, and they won't taste like that cacao that people are looking for. And
I mean, how these taste, more bitter? Or
much more bitter. Much more bitter.
So if your cacao doesn't taste bitter, it's probably not raw, right?
Probably not raw. Again, exactly. And so the old adage is always, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And that's really the case with this, is with anything. Is it really raw? Well, unless you saw it happen, and even then you gotta,
But even if it's raw, it doesn't mean it's healthy, right?
That's right. Even if it's raw.
It should be still a recreational drug.
That's right, exactly.
And used when you need it.
Lots of things are raw, and not
doesn't mean they're healthy.
Raw sewage is raw, and that's certainly not healthy. So, raw food is definitely about the relationship with the plant as much as it's about the fact that it's raw. It's knowing what plants are going to give us the benefits, what plants have the things that we ultimately need, and having a real connection with those and finding the best way to preserve the nutrient value of every food.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, well, that was a great interview. Thank you for your time, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
I appreciate sharing your expertise about cacao with myself and now my viewers. So once again, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. And remember, you want to keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and as fresh as possible and grow them yourself. That's what really raw foods is about. We'll see you next time.